This week, Border Life comes from the home of a unique project celebrating 40 years of people with all ability levels living here on the land beside the magnificent Loch Arthur. If you've been here, it might be to seek out artisan cheeses and sourdough bread, or meet friends in the cafe. Behind it all lies a community which values meaningful work.
What kind of food?
One of the worst things about community living is that you're never alone. And one of the best things about community living is that you're never alone.
Midway between Dumfries and Dalbeattie lies a unique rural estate. Adults with additional support needs, volunteers and families have built a life here, working together to produce fresh organic food. Full-time workers who live on the estate are known as co-workers. They aren't paid a wage. Instead, they have a home, food, access to a vehicle and an allowance to help cover other needs. This year, this community celebrates its 40th anniversary. It's grown significantly, but those who run it say they've stuck to their core beliefs of respecting nature and living a balanced life. Loch Arthur has become well known for its farm shop, butchery and bakery, but in the early days, it made its name on cheese.
That was the core of our work when we started, of our commercial work. The creamery really went out and put cheese into shows and went to events. We met with other cheesemakers. We really entered into that world. But at the same time, we had a wonderful thing happening here with the local people. I used to refer to them as the pilgrims, the folk who came up to our little shop where it was in its earliest days. And at first they were just coming to buy cheese, and then a different type of cheese, and then we broadened a bit, and we really wanted it to go on. We wanted the work to go on. We wanted people to be engaged. You know, it's just grown and changed and shifted as time's gone on.
Over the years, that led to the development of a busy farm shop and cafe, which draws customers from a wide area.
And when we designed this building, you see it has that gesture. You've got Lotus Hill in the background and this beautiful building, very welcoming, and really saying, this is us, our community, meeting the wider community in this very special space we created. And it has served that purpose. It's amazing.
Many hands combine here to make and grow a wide range of food. Supported tenants, volunteers and co-workers work in teams, like here in the creamery, where Adam is carefully separating whey from what will become cheddar.
So what happens is that with the whey, we do the whey run always at 1:30.
Okay.
And then the whey comes out, and then it's cheese. And then that's how we've got those cheddars in there. So that's why I'm doing this, to make it moist, to make it more cheese. Then you have to do it nice and slowly, and then you have to do it all the way to the end and come back to the other end again.
You're obviously a man that knows a lot about this stuff now.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I love it.
You seem to have a nice team here.
Yeah. So we always have a nice team around here, and it's just wonderful. It really is.
The creamery makes hard and soft cheeses, as well as yoghurt and milk. So preparing orders is a big task.
Well, Sarah, you're on wrapping duty today.
Yeah.
How do you like working in the creamery here?
Oh, I like working in the creamery.
And you're part of a really nice community.
Yeah, I like being here.
Yeah?
Because I met a lot of friends.
Great. Nice to have friends.
Yeah.
And busy work as well.
Yeah.
This whole operation has completely changed the way this land is worked. When the Camp Hill charity bought the ground, was a country estate, home to just 6 people. Now more than 80 live here, and it provides paid employment for around another 60. There is a constant demand for residential placements. Most come here for the long term. So there's only usually around 1 new space available each year. Co-worker Dennis was here from the start in 1985 and shared one of the first houses.
I think what we're trying to do, first of all, is to create community with men and women who have a learning disability, perhaps associated physical issues, that we're really sharing a life, that there isn't this division between the staff and the people who are being supported, that division falls away. So what you feel when you come here is we've got 7 houses which are shared houses. There's another 6 or 7 houses which are lived in just 1 person or 2 people. Good work, significant work that is socially worthwhile and doing something that people will appreciate is very important. And working in teams with other people to make things happen and making a real contribution, even if it's in a very small way, to be part of something that's doing good, whether it's looking after the environment or the animals or making bread that people want to buy or weaving something, that's a very important part of life. So there's this working life, there's the life of the home, and then I think depending on when they come, there's also the whole social cultural life.
Everyone works a morning and afternoon session Monday to Friday. A big part of the rhythm of daily life is eating together 3 times a day. So cooking is also part of the work cycle. I've come to meet Stuart and Elaine in the kitchen of one of the houses.
Well, Stuart, you're busy at the cooker here. Is cooking day one of your favourites?
Yep, just waxing on and waxing off. Waxing on, waxing off.
You're a fan of the Karate Kid, obviously.
And also Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai. How are you enjoying life here at Loch Arthur?
Well, I've been here since beginning in March of this year. So I'm here about nearly 5 months, just about.
And are you enjoying being part of the community?
Well, it couldn't be any better.
Good. And what's your favourite bit of life here?
Favourite bit of life? Getting the work done. Wax on and wax off.
Elaine is one of a group of friends and volunteers at Loch Arthur. She drives from Carlisle 1 day a week to take part.
You're cooking for a whole household here of 13 or 14 people at a time, so it's quite an undertaking.
It is, but it's just lovely to cook nutritious food for people. And because Loch Arthur has their garden, we just use the seasonal food. So I find that really easy. You just see what's in the garden, bring it in, and me and Stuart make it into a meal for 13 or 14 people. And it's lovely, fresh, and everybody gets a lovely meal.
And you're just one of quite a sizable group, really, of volunteers who come in often 1 day a week.
I think there's a variety of people that come in and volunteer on different levels. Yes, there are. It's just such a lovely community to be a part of, and it's lovely to come and help. But I sometimes, at the end of the day, feel that maybe I've got more out of it by coming here than what I've been doing here helping.
Wherever they've worked for the morning, everyone stops for lunch and everyone sits together.
The idea is that once you're here, this is who you are. And what happens is you begin to experience very quickly not the particular disability of an individual, but who the individual is. Whether they're kind or nice or irritating, or it doesn't matter, but it stops being what your diagnosis is or what label. You just become Dennis or Stuart or Barry or Vicky or whatever, and that's, I think, a very important thing.
Life on the farm may look idyllic, but this place has had its challenges to overcome.
A big turning point was foot and mouth, and we all know what an impact that had on the whole region. was a moment when we had to do some reassessment because we just lost our source of milk from one day to the next. We were bereft.
More about that when we come back. Welcome back to Border Life, where this week we're with the unique rural community of Loch Arthur.
I've been coming to the cafe and farm shop here for years, but it wasn't until we came to make this programme that I realised the sheer scale of what goes on behind the scenes, or indeed the number of people that have all come together here to make this place a home over 4 decades.
More than 80 people live here, and lots more come and go each day as volunteers or on day placements. The aim is for everyone's food to be as homegrown and homemade as possible. That keeps the bakery busy all day, with shoppers also coming from miles around to buy their sourdough and traditional bread. And it was bread that brought long-term co-worker Susanna to Loch Arthur more than 20 years ago.
Me and Christoph, my now husband, we went traveling and we were in the area and we asked somebody where one could buy bread. Because if you're coming from Germany, the stuff you buy in the supermarket here isn't really bread. And somebody said, oh, there are these funny people down at the Loch and I think they're baking. And there was no shop at that time. That was 2001 and we came and people were very lovely and very inviting. And I think that says a lot about Loch Arthur. We were just invited for a meal and we bought a loaf of bread. And after that somebody showed us around and I said, can I come back in the summer?
They went on to have 3 children here and bring them up in a shared household. Life as a co-worker is a bit different to the mainstream. You're not employed, you don't get a wage, although you do get an allowance, including spending money.
What was it that drew you to this place?
I think a lot was just being with people and being in a place where we could just be and didn't have to work for money, which is a very different concept. I worked in social care settings before, but we were all just people, or we are just people, and it didn't really matter so much if somebody had special needs or however you want to phrase it. I remember coming back to Germany and somebody asking me, so what kind of disabilities did people have? And I said, I don't know. It didn't really matter. They were just people, just our friends, and you get to know people really well.
Traditionally, foreign volunteers have brought an important mix of skills to the community. With tighter immigration rules since Brexit, several people here told me that has become more challenging.
By now people need visas and it costs them a lot of money to come here. They have to pay for the visa and they will have to pay more than £1,000 for the health surcharge is called, to be able to use the NHS if they're here for a year. And for me, I just popped in and then stayed or came back. And that isn't really possible anymore. You have to go through the whole visa process and there's a lot of paperwork.
But this is a community used to overcoming challenges, and one of its greatest came just after the turn of the century. In the 80s and 90s, cheese was the main earner, with Loch Arthur winning national awards and their artisan products in big demand. But like so many other rural businesses in this part of the world, that was about to stop when Foot and Mouth arrived. Loch Arthur lost its herd of cows in a preemptive cull.
Tonight, the mass slaughter programme to stamp out foot and mouth. Hundreds of thousands of animals are to be destroyed. Good evening. The government has announced a massive slaughter programme to try to stamp out the foot and mouth crisis.
We all know what an impact that had on the whole region and everyone in the region, but it was a moment when we had to do some reassessment because we just lost our source of milk from one day to the next. We were bereft. So for me, turning towards the public and opening our doors more was a big thing at that moment that filled the space in a certain way. It's a passion of mine. It's something to do with provision of food, with retail, with meeting people. And I've always seen the shop, I worked for 10 years in South Africa in food retail, and I always saw the food shop as a place of exchange and meeting, a marketplace and excitement. So for me, this was always hovering in the background. It has to be balanced with all the other aspects of what our community is about, and that's something I really learned when I came here. I have my entrepreneurial spirit and my wish to do certain things, but so much is about balance, and the balance of different people's needs at different times, the balance of how commercial you want to be, how much we need to keep it toned down, that there's not too much pressure on folk.
The organic gardens stretch down to the shores of Loch Arthur and somehow manage to be both tranquil and a real hive of activity. Head gardener Lisa first came here as a volunteer nearly 2 decades ago. She's now returned to work here full-time.
Lisa, it strikes me that there's a lovely atmosphere in the garden here, everyone working together regardless of their abilities.
You're pretty able to find different kinds of works depending on the abilities of people and the likings or dislikes. That's also part of that. But.
And there's something very calming and mindful, isn't there, about being out here and amongst all the plants?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's a wonderful work to do. The plants, the people, being outside, experiencing the weather. It's quite challenging sometimes, but definitely not boring. So we have divided the garden into different plots so that we can keep them rotating. We don't want the same plants in the same spots every year, so we have a rotation system. If we go just through the garden from bottom to top, there would be a plot for cabbages. Then we have roots, we have lettuces and Swiss chard. We have squashes and courgettes. We have peas and beans, which is all one family, so that would be one plot. We have some potatoes, we have leeks.
The vegetables you grow here are turning into hundreds of meals each week, so there's quite a big challenge there for you, isn't there?
We do deliver to each house every week, and that's very rewarding, especially for the people working here, putting all the effort in the crops and getting things ready, and then getting that washed and sort of put out nicely and delivered to the houses. That's one of the most favorite moments for a lot of the people working here, to actually take food back home and to find that on their tables.
As well as feeding the households, surplus from the gardens is sold in the farm shop. Barry says seeing food made and grown here being bought by the public brings huge satisfaction to the tenants.
I think it's massive. It's about pride, it's about dignity. Those are words. The word pride is often about puffing up and saying, "Aren't I wonderful?" I don't think that's the case. I think it's about feeling good about who you are and what you are, not sort of feeling I'm a non-contributor in society. But I still have people who will come in the social care environment and say, "How many service users do you have at your place?" And I always boggle, I always step back and think, "That's what you mean, service users? You're talking about customers in the shop, or It's a bit of a wind-up because I know what they mean, but I think, why are you calling this person a service user? Because you're looking at us as a service for disabled people? That's not what we are. They're service providers, they're engaged, they're making things, they're doing what you said, reaching out to the public and saying, "Isn't this incredible what I've done here?" And it's a big part of people's sense of well-being. It's very important, that.
With beautiful surroundings, a lively social life and healthy food, it could be easy to assume this is some kind of oasis.
That's it, yeah. Push it down.
But looking back on 40 years and looking forward, Dennis says, like any life, it's had its challenges.
What we're wanting is an authentic life. We don't want to create something which is fake. We want it to be real life, which means real encounters. It's not everybody's lovely and happy, and it's real, the struggles of living with other people, the struggles of living in a shared house together with people. So it's real stuff. So you have arguments, and you have people who get depressed, or people who get angry, and people who have going through a bad time. But by living with each other, and there's the possibility of real connections, of real encounters. And I think that's one of the big challenges. It's also one of the rewards. Like they say, one of the worst things about community living is that you're never alone. And one of the best things about community living is that you're never alone. But I think the biggest thing is life moves on, it evolves. And we don't want to become an institution. So to keep it alive and really thriving as something that's good and dynamic, it needs people to say yes to that.